Resident Evil 4 Remake was released, and as expected it did great, and got very good scores from critics. Almost 6 months after the release of Resident Evil 4, DLC Separate Ways was introduced and released. This DLC told the story of Ada Wong in the same main areas of the game again in a different way. Compared to the original game, which was very close to its original version and tried to have few changes and omissions, this DLC made a lot of changes with the original version. Not only were these changes not bad, but they worked very well and offered Resident Evil fans a complete DLC with great gameplay along with Ada Wong's character. Aside from DLC Separate Ways, Resident Evil fans believe that after the release of the DLC, Capcom probably planned more story DLCs for Resident Evil 4 Remake. After the success and reception of the Resident Evil 4 Remake, it is not unlikely that Capcom has many plans for Resident Evil 4 compared to the original version of Resident Evil 4. One of these programs that is specified in the winter of 2024 is the VR version of Resident Evil 4 Remake. The VR version of Resident Evil 4 will be released as a free DLC for the audience. In addition to this VR version, it is possible that the new Resident Evil 4 Story DLC will also be revealed. What can this DLC be? One of the possible DLCs that fans speculate will be released for Resident Evil 4 is the DLC for the Krauser character. Operation Javier was a mission where Leon worked together with Krauser, and interesting things happened there, and it shows the reason why Krauser decided to become an evil person. Of course, a version of Resident Evil called Operation Javier was released after the release of Resident Evil 4 in 2005, in which Krauser and Leon were together and cooperated for a special mission. Few people know this version of Resident Evil, or have experienced it. Among other things, at this time, few people can cope with the graphics and gameplay of that version of Resident Evil. Capcom can provide the story of this version in the form of a DLC for Resident Evil 4 Remake in a brief and concise way, so that we can experience a very complete and accurate backstory of Leon and Jack Krauser with the excellent graphics engine of our .E engine as well as the modern gameplay. If we go back and take a look at the first trailer introducing Resident Evil 4 Remake, we see scenes that were not in the original game. One of these scenes is related to where Mendez is standing in the hallway of his house. This scene did not exist in the original game, but we saw in separate ways that this scene was there. Apart from this, we can mention the first scenes of the trailer, which shows Ashley running away from something in the village at the beginning of the game, and we did not see this scene in the original game, or even in the released DLC. However, it is possible to consider this hypothesis that we may see this scene in the new DLC that Capcom will release for Resident Evil 4 in the future. This DLC can tell the story of Ashley, who is running away from Krauser in the village, and as soon as she enters the main village, she is captured by the Ganados and taken to the church. This DLC can be a short, scary and stressful experience inside the village with Ashley's character, who must secretly escape from the Ganados and the village boss, Mendez. In the remake version of Resident Evil 4, Luis Serra's character was more prominent in terms of story and gameplay compared to the original version. Even in the Separate Ways DLC where we were in control of Ada Wong, Lois played a very important role in most of the game's story. Another DLC that may be released for Resident Evil 4 is the story DLC of Louis, in which we will control Louis in the village and castle, and like the Separate Ways DLC, we will advance the story of Ada Wong in this DLC with Louis. What do you think? Has Capcom planned a new DLC for Resident Evil 4 Remake? Thank you very much for staying with me until the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye.